Hey guys, it's Troy.
And Matthew.
And here we are just outside of DC, actually Falls Church, Virginia, for the DC Pen Show 2021. What day is today?
Today is Sunday.
Alright, so that means that the show went on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today. And we did not do the weekend trader pass. We could get in on Thursday and Friday. And that was kind of done on purpose. But also, here we are, Friday. We decided, we're not going to do the weekend trader, but we went on a tour of the city. So we got to take a bus tour around DC, do a little bit of walking, get to see some of the sights. And then Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, the doors open to the general public. And we were able to go shopping, and we spent most of the day walking around the ballroom downstairs. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that they do, Jaffa Brands was the sponsor of the show, and Jaffa Brands often sponsors pen shows, and one of the things that they often do is they give you a bag like this. And so you get a tote bag to take all of your goodies home with. And so, as you may know, Jaffa Brands puts out Monteverde, Conklin, and apparently they now probably own Private Reserve Ink. So there's always a prize inside at the DC Pen Show if you're among the first 200 people. So what came? Well, the DC Pen Show ink. So this particular ink right here is Bob's Blue. Now Bob, there's a whole story behind Bob, but Bob was the guy who founded and ran the DC Supershow for a lot of years, and he recently passed away. As a matter of fact, if you go to dcpenshow.com, you can see some information on that. But so the first 200 people through the door got one of those bags and got one of these bottles of ink. Now they took it a step further. They threw in some color charts of some of their inks. Apparently they got some inks that they're aiming at children, some cards of their inks, and also a new ink sample kit. So apparently one of the things that Private Reserve is trying to do is get into some accessories. So in this bag, you've got a flat or a blunt tip syringe, and you've got some empty ink cartridges that you can take any of their inks, put into cartridges, Standard International apparently, a nice long one and a short for your pens. So that was included. And the last thing that was in that bag, this year, they gave out some pens. Well, it's a Monteverde. Well, it doesn't tell you what it is on the box. So you open it up and you pull it out and voila. It says right there, you see that? DC Pen Supershow. But what kind of pen is it? Well, it is a Monza. So if you're familiar with the Monteverde Monza, not one of my favorite pens in the world. I must tell you, I've done a review on that. You can go take a look, as have others. But think Jinhao 992, just with a bigger price tag.
But it was free, so.
But it's free. So I'm not going to complain about free. And I guess if you're going to give away 200 of them and you're the major sponsor of the show, you would give away your low-end pen that you would be able to put in everybody's hands. So.
Yeah, because if they did high-end pens, that would have been very expensive.
Very expensive. I mean, they're already sponsoring the show. They're already putting out all that stuff. So I get it. All right. So we were walking around the show, and one of the things, by the way, we did a video. We just have a little GoPro camera that I had procured, and as we've been doing most pen shows lately, is we just did a walkthrough. And there are a lot of people here already a Saturday morning, first thing. So it's a little crowded. They set up the show a little differently than they had previously, in that you don't have a clear aisle all the way down. They did half of the room this way, and the other half of the room was staggered as to the aisles to go down. And they were a little narrow at times, but we did a walkthrough the best we could through both rooms. There are two rooms, a big room and a small room. The smaller room has more of the custom pen makers, people who are small-time operators who do custom work. You'll find people like Jonathan Brooks and Jim Hines and you'll find a few other small timers who actually, some of them do some really excellent work. And I've seen some really nice pens there, and some of which I'm glad, as I was walking around later on by myself, I was glad that, glad the wife isn't here.
Her style is just pretty.
Yeah, it would have been more money out of my pocket or hitting my credit card account probably. But as you walk in the main area, you typically have people like Van Ness Pens, Pilot Namiki, David Oscarson, and a few other high-end pen makers. An auction house that deals with nice upper-end pens as well. And then you walk into the main ballroom, and you've got all kinds of dealers, all kinds of tables. You've got your Franklin Christophs, then you've had Ken Rose. You had a lot of small-time people that you would run across who sell a lot on eBay, that do a lot of vintage pens. Some guys I've bought from over the years were there this time. There were a lot of folks that weren't there this year as well, that I've run across in previous years, but still had a pretty good crowd, and had a pretty good showing. So
it was bigger Saturday.
yeah, so I'm sure they want to see our pen haul. So where do you want to start? You want to start with yours and Mommy's purchases, or
do you want to go like first purchase to last?
Oh, we could do that. So let's go with the first purchase that we made was what? Yours, wasn't
Yep.
it? Let's see if this one is yours.
Mama's.
Oh, that's your mama's.
Yep.
All right, so why don't you go for it? This is where he bought it. By the way, with his own money, he had money that he saved up.
Use discount code Troy at checkout.
Yeah, that's true. If you want to buy from his website, HeinzPens.com, discount code Troy will save you 15% off your purchase. But anyway, Matthew, before we came, what did you keep saying that you wanted to do?
I wanted to do some business with Jim Hines.
The one person he said I definitely want to go see about doing business with was Jim.
Yeah, at the Raleigh Pen Show. It was before my birthday. Didn't have much money. Then got some birthday money that I used. Well,
And we warned him, don't think you have to go see Jim.
I know, but
And don't think that you have to limit yourself to Jim, but he still wanted to. So that tells you a little bit about what he thinks of the quality and thinks of Jim as an individual. So go ahead, show him what you got.
I got Jim Hines's Midnight Thaw L20.
L20 was the model number?
Yep.
And the Midnight Thaw was what? The
name.
color.
Yeah.
The color that he uses, or the
color scheme.
All right, it's got the Heinz logo there on the top.
Then the colors are just beautiful. It has them sparkles. Then it has blue, purple, and white. They just blend in so good.
Mama wanted a pen too. So,
There's mine.
also at the Jim Hines table was that.
The purple shimmer.
The purple shimmer, he said.
Religion.
And you can see it's got a lot of, almost like a diamond dust. And that the lighting is not really good because we're still here in the hotel room. Not fantastic lighting in here. It's what we got.
Yeah, but it has some sparkles in the light. If we had good lighting, you could see all the sparkles.
Alrighty, so one of our next stops was over to Federalist Pens. Frank from Federalist Pens. Talked about him sometimes in my videos, and I bought some more paper from him, like I did at the Raleigh show. So, I could use another pad. Ayush is a brand from India. It's not my favorite paper, but I do like the size of the pad. I like the ease of use of the pad, and I like the lines that are in it. So the paper is
Kinda like a
acceptable.
notebook?
Yeah, I use this a lot for letter writing. It's acceptable paper. It's not fantastic paper. It's not horrible paper, but for like $10 for the pad, it's very fountain pen friendly. And most of my pens do fairly well on it, so I've been using that a lot. So I figured I'd stock up, even though if it's not my favorite paper, it's still very acceptable.
You can never have too much paper.
And I picked up a bottle of this Colorverse Stars and Stripes. It's actually a pretty decent ink. It has a lot of sheen in it, so red and blue when you play with the ink a little bit, and you get some sheening in it, so you'll get both colors. And I've only used this so far in a sample. So I figured I might as well pick up a bottle of Colorverse.
Looks like it's a nice color.
It is. I mean, I've inked up some of your stuff with this.
Huh.
So at least one of your pens has the Stars and Stripes from Colorverse. So I'm going to show you a pen here that I know is going to get this ink put in it. So out of my pen stash. So let's go look for some more pens. Here's one. We're not going quite in order here, but here's some pens that we picked up today, this morning. We went back down for the second day, and I actually, the oldest pen that I own is from 1895, and it is one of these Warren pens, and I had it in my collection for several years. I actually picked it up at an antique shop in the town that I live in. And essentially these are just cardboard or paper tubes that are nib holders. And they actually had, for the Warren Manufacturing Company, there was an elderly couple selling these pens, and they found, well, not them in particular necessarily, but what was found was in the building where the Warren Manufacturing was, boxes and boxes full of these pens that had never been opened and never used.
They said that they found like 100 or...
Right, so these are dip pens.
lot.
Right, so these are dip pens, and there were 4 different kinds of nibs on them, and I think they explained it here. They've got well, let's see, 4 different sizes. 3-inch Falcon pens, 4-inch blank pens, quill stub, and 1-inch college pens. So anyway, they had a 4-pack of those together that they were selling, so I figured, you know, what the heck, it's a piece of history. I have one, well, now I have 5.
Wait, maybe can I have the Warren since I already have that?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
He was playing with one of them today. They had them available to dip and to just test with, and the one you had was a very nice flexible nib. So we've added that to the collection. Let's see. Let me show you this. This is something that my pen pals will probably appreciate. And I got this at Day Art Store. They were there at the pen show today. Lightbringer Designs was there, and I actually planned on stopping by Lightbringer Designs, which they were outside in the hallway, and I ran across these folks first. And I'm not sad that I didn't stop by Lightbringer first, but wax seals, for those of you who write and mail stuff with wax seals. I do that from time to time. I've had a kit for several years, but you know, I haven't been real happy with the waxes that I've gotten, and the stamp that I got was okay. So hold these, young squire.
Okay, Daddy.
Now I went ahead and decided, of all the designs they had, I was going to start with just one. So a fountain pen nib on that particular stamp, and I've got the, you know, the holder or the thing to go with it, and I got 2 different bags of beads of wax. I've only used sticks before, so when I was talking to the girl, she said, "Have you ever used the beads?" I said, "No, the kit that I had only had sticks." She says, "Well, we don't really sell sticks, so if you haven't used the beads before," she said, "you're kind of missing out, because one of the cool things is that you can take, you know, one of these beads, let's say for a stamp that size," she said you'd use about 3 beads, and you would heat them up to melt them, and you can mix the colors.
Ooh,
and
that sounds cool.
yeah, so I'll show you how to do that. So I got one in red and one in blue. So I'll be able to take these and do some different stamping with these. So that was in addition to my collection. I think these are like $6.95 a bag for 100 pieces.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know how good it was, but I figured, why not? I'll give it a try. The kit that I had actually had the little bowl that you can hold over a candle and melt the wax. I've just never used it because I haven't had any wax that you could put in that thing. So.
Yeah, but now you have some.
Yep. So, a couple other things I was going to show you. Let's go with this one first. Mike Daigle. A lot of you may know Mike. He sells an awful lot on Facebook and on eBay. I bought from Mike. He hails from the Massachusetts area, and I've like I said, I've been a customer of his prior online. I never got a chance to meet him in person, so I was able to actually shake his hand, say hello to him, talk to him a little bit, and he had a lot of pens set forth before him, a lot of them vintage, because that's typically what Mike works on. And as I was looking over the pens, I saw some that I really liked. We got to talking, and he shared a couple of the pens with me, the prices, and I said, okay, well, this one interests me, that one interests me, gave me the prices on those. I said, okay. And you know, I've already got one of these. So as we got to looking, because I had a list of pens, he asked me, what are you interested in? I said, well, I'm interested in Watermans, and we looked at some of the safety pens and looked at a few others. And one of the ones that they had was this gorgeous blue lapis
Beautiful.
Wall Eversharp vintage deco band.
It's a beautiful pen.
I've gotten a deco band here just at the last pen show in Raleigh. As much as I still want to get one of the modern ones, and I was looking at the modern ones just today and yesterday.
Yep. He saw one today. He said that was on his wish list. He really wanted it.
Yep, but this was one of the ones I picked up. One of the things about the pens that I was looking at that Mike explained to me, they were from the estate of Cliff Harrington. A lot of you don't know who Cliff is. Some of you do.
Nope, I do not.
Cliff was a staple in the pen world at fountain pen shows. Cliff was often gone all the way to Europe for pen shows. I've met him and purchased from him several times, several pens, and he was at the Raleigh and at DC shows, and he got to know a lot of people. And Cliff was a nice guy, knowledgeable guy. And one of the things that Cliff and I both have some similar background in our work experiences in the telecommunications industry. And so we had a long conversation about that one day, the kind of work that he did on one aspect in the cable television world, and the stuff that I do and have done both in radio and in cable TV. So, we had some really good conversation about that, as well as about some pens. Looked at a nice Carter's pen that I was really interested in, about the same color blue, actually. The price was a little more than I was willing to pay within my budget for this show. And I found this beautiful, absolutely gorgeous deco band. And I know the lighting is not great here, but I'm happy with it. I have not inked it up yet. Mike did not know if it had been restored or not, because they came from Cliff. Apparently when Cliff was getting sick, he knew he was getting sick, and he started to send his collection to Mike to make sure that they got taken care of and they could be sold, and keep Mike in stock, because apparently they had a really good relationship. So I managed to pick that up from Cliff's estate through Mike Daigle. So I'll be inking that up and be using that sometime soon. Like I said, I have not inked this up yet. And Mike did just a little straightening, because there was a little hump here on this, right there on the lever, that he took down just a little bit, and we'll see how well I can get that to work. And he didn't know if the ink sac would be acceptable or not. He says, I don't know. I haven't restored them. He said, I just got them and now I'm disposing of them. I said, okay. I know how to change an ink sac. So, all right, next one. Conklin. I'm not talking the new Jaffa brand Conklins. Sorry, Jaffa, but I'm talking about the vintage. Hirsch Davis is another name that's fairly well known in the pen community, and I've seen him online quite a bit, and I got a chance to stand there and talk to him and his wife, and you'll find them at Bertram's Inkwell, showing up there on a regular basis. But 1920s, 1930s
Ooh,
crescent
seen
filler.
that before.
Yeah, so you've seen lever fillers, right?
Yep.
Same idea. There's just a lever on the there's not a lever, but there's a bar on the inside, and there's a lock ring right here. I actually have one at home, an old Conklin, and the lock ring was missing when I got it. And I've tried to buy some lock rings to go on, but I have not been able to get the correct size yet. So this one, Hirsch had gone ahead and had restored. And as you turn it, even on the modern crescents that Conklin does, they essentially copy this idea, but you can press down instead of pulling on a lever that presses down on a bar. You just press down on that crescent.
That's neat.
And then you twist it so it can't. So it's locked in place.
Oh.
And this one did have the Conklin clip on it, and it is kind of nice because you pull back on it, and it's got that spring to it. It is a screw top, and it is a Conklin vintage nib. The one crescent that I've got has a great nib on it, so I have not inked this one up yet. So I got two vintage. So the two of those took an awful lot of my budget.
But would you say it was worth it in the end?
I'm hoping so. I'll be able to play with those, and most of my purchasing for me was vintage. For Matthew and Mama Bear, newer stuff. But I did get a modern pen for me, and I'll show you one here shortly. Along the ideas of vintage pens, a book I've been wanting for a while, and I just hadn't pulled the trigger on it. But I saw that pentooling.com. I've been to that website many times. Maybe some of you have purchased from there, but he was out there today, like I normally see him at the DC show, with a book on pen repair. I've gotten a couple of books out that have been published. Some of them I found a little bit lacking in material, but this one here is one that I know is used widely by some people. Full color,
Big
diagrams, pictures. I figured, I'll go ahead and do it.
Show you what to do.
Not a cheap book. I mean, $65 book. But I figured
It's a big book.
for $65, I may actually get a good amount of info out of it, and hopefully put it to good use when I start to go work on some pens. So,
He doesn't know how to do something.
pen repair.
Hopefully that book will help.
Alrighty.
What else? Oh,
I've got one more here that I've saved that to show that I haven't shown yet, and I'm gonna pull up the guy's card right here. Barry Gross.
Barry.
I've met Barry before. He actually was at the Raleigh Pen Show just a couple of months ago. I was taking a look at some of his pens that I saw there that I had liked, and I was able to peruse his stuff again. Interestingly enough, see the American flag? Here we are right near the nation's capital, and he said that he was actually getting some flack from some people, some negative comments over this pen.
It's beautiful.
They didn't like the idea he was selling pens that had the American flag on it.
But
Really?
he's from USA, so
This is United States of America, the DC show. I live here. I was born here as an American citizen. I make no apologies for being an American or having pride in America.
if you were in England, you made a pen. It could have the England
If
flag.
he had the British flag on it, I wouldn't complain. If he had a Mexican flag or a Cuban flag even,
Korean.
French flag, I don't care. I wouldn't complain about those, and I wouldn't have a problem with anybody wanting one of them for themselves should they be of those nationalities. I certainly don't care if anybody doesn't like the idea that I'm a proud American. I live in America, and I'm always going to put America first in terms of nationality. God put me here in this country. He didn't put me in any other country, so I'm very thankful for that, and I do believe in American exceptionalism. Make no mistake about it. So when I saw this pen, I said that is a gorgeous piece of work. Barry does do kit pens, and he personalizes them and makes them his own. Well, this is one that I saw that I said, just because I like it, just because it's beautiful, just because it stands for the land of the free, well, at least for now, and home of the brave, I went ahead and picked up this. And the other thing is, he
The
doesn't
design
he
is
doesn't,
amazing.
yeah, it's a gorgeous pen, but also he puts in Yovo nibs, so when he does any kit work or stock work, he doesn't use these horrendous IPG nibs. He puts in quality nibs, and it's a good hefty pen, It feels good in the hand, and it's
Handmade?
absolutely beautiful. And he hand turns these himself.
He doesn't use computers.
So I figured
Makes it
that would make a
himself.
good pen. And you know what I'm going to ink it up with, without apology? Stars and Stripes ink to go along with it.
It matches perfect.
So it matches the theme, and it matches the pen. So anyway, that's pretty much our pen haul. Couple of vintage,
Couple of new.
some new. Some 1895 dip pens. So, a little bit of ink, a little bit of paper, repair book. Some wax seals,
Some custom made stuff.
some custom made pens. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Remember, if you go to Heinz Pens, 15% discount. Use discount code Troy.